AJ Dybantsa season is here, and the Wizards have the piece they needed to take them to the next level. Now the real work begins to maximize him into what we hope is a franchise great.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
With the first pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select Anise Dybantsa Jr. from Brigham Young University.
Oh, it never gets old hearing Adam Silver say those words. You are locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. My name is Ben Strober, and covering the Wizards alongside me, as always, is Abdullah Ayubi. Today, we're joined by our guy, Greg Finberg from Bullets Forever, and on today's show, we'll get all into the selection of AJ Dybantsa at number 1 overall, what it means for this franchise going forward, what the next decade of Wizards basketball will look like, including the fit with Trae Young, everybody else, why the Wizards still have a need at backup big, and what are some of the options they could look at tonight here in the second round. Greg, I want to start with this because you've covered this team a hell of a lot longer than AB and I have. Where does last night rank for you in your experience covering this basketball team? Was this the best night for you personally? Where does it go?
It's a good question. It's definitely up there in the top three. There's some moments when you're watching the team. Like I remember when they were rattling off those wins last year and everyone was healthy. That was kind of a moment where you could sit back and be like, okay, everything's kind of coming together. But it was nice to see because, again, when you cover this team and when you're with this team for the last couple of years, you see the ups, but you also see the downs. And you see last year when they do everything the right way and they fall from 2 to 6. You see when they're one lottery ball off from Cooper Flagg, from Zion, from Wemby. And it just seems like it all kind of led up to this moment where everything it kind of came together pretty perfectly. Like at the start of last season, I remember recording a pod and kind of outlining the goals for the following season. And the first goal was to keep that pick because it's crazy. You forget that they could have lost this pick if they were too good. And clearly they secured that pretty easily. And the second one was to unfortunately bottom out and be the worst team you could be, to not fall outside the top 5 and give yourself the top odds at the number 1 pick. You did that by finishing with the league's worst record. I think they went like 1-26 over their last 27 or something to do it.
Crazy.
But they did it. The third thing was development, making sure that guys like Sarr and George and Coulibaly, Trae Johnson, Will Riley, Bub Carrington all show signs that they are going to be really good players. And every single one, especially George and Sarr, had huge seasons and showed that they could develop at a pretty good rate. You needed to add some sort of veteran presence. You did that with Trae Young. You did it with Anthony Davis on pretty good deals. And the last piece of that was just some luck. Like they hadn't gotten lucky in years. I mean, 16 years really to the day is when they took John at 1, and they finally got the luck. So last night kind of brought everything together. It was probably a culmination of all of the work that they had done, but also showed that they've done it the right way. And they've found that final piece, I think, that kind of makes this thing complete. So where does it rank? I got to say 1. Like it just kind of feels like the peak of this rebuild was last night, putting all the pieces together. There's going to be probably a lot more of those nights in the future now that they have the core set. But an incredible moment, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because going into the draft, I knew that they were going to announce AJ Dybantsa's real name. But still, when he said Anise, my heart dropped. I had friends text me saying, yo, I thought we just took some random at 1. Greg, I want to ask you about the offensive usage between Young and Dybantsa. Young just got this extension. AJ Dybantsa is a guy who wants the ball and create his own shot. How do you think the Wizards can balance the two guys?
I think when they extended Trae Young, I think people overreacted to the money in general. But I think they overreacted to the fact that that somehow meant they were going to take Darren Peterson. I thought the complete opposite. Like, why would you take a guy that wants to be a point guard in the future and has played on ball reps in high school and some in college when you just gave $200+ million to a guy who is the purest form of a point guard that a point guard can be. The ball is going to be in Trae Young's hands. So I thought that signaled to me 100% they're taking AJ. And just because AJ is his best when the ball is in his hands doesn't mean he needs to be the creator for the rest of the offense. It just means that, all right, when Trae Young sets him up in a good spot, he can handle the ball. He can also find open teammates if they commit too many defenders to him. He can get to the rim. Hopefully adds a 3-ball so he can space the floor. But like Will Dawkins said last night, like you can never have too many creators. You can never have too many ball handlers on the floor. And if you're the Wizards, just because AJ can do other stuff that forwards and wings can't in terms of putting the ball in his hands, handling the ball, setting up open teammates, doesn't mean that Trae Young needs to all of a sudden take a step back. Doesn't mean that AJ needs to take a step back. If anything, I think that it'll fit pretty perfectly. Like AJ's not going to be an on-ball guy to start his career. Maybe 5 years down the line when he enters his prime, maybe he can be that. But the ball is going to be in Trae Young's hands. And I think AJ can pretty perfectly fit in an off-ball role where you're asked to get to the bucket, you're asked to space the floor, and you're asked to score. And I think that's what he'll be willing to do. He was asked about it last night. Will Dawkins called him a guard. He said they're adding him to one of the tallest guard groups in the league. I thought that was pretty interesting. In terms of, okay, if he's a guard, does that mean he's your 2 now alongside Trae? Does that mean that Keyshawn will now start at the 3 and then you go with AD and Sar? I thought it was pretty interesting to see that he kind of labeled him there as a guard. But again, they asked AJ about, I think it was our guy Josh Valdez from Clutch Points that asked AJ about playing off ball. And he said he could do it. He did it at Prolific Prep in high school. He did it with Team USA as the number 2 option. Said he still has to learn his role, but he seemed pretty content coming into this off-ball role and playing alongside Trae.
So we heard Dawkins on the Sports Junkies this morning, and they did, I think, a really good job in the interview kind of asking what this process was like. And they asked him, was there ever really a chance you were going to move off this pick? And this quote really stuck out to me. He said, it was going to take something extremely rare and extremely special to make us punt on an extremely rare and special talent in AJ Dybantsa. So to me, Greg, it sounds like they've been locked on him for quite some time. Obviously, they held their cards pretty close to their chest, and we didn't really know who this would be until really the day before. It seemed a little bit obvious. But based on them seeming very confident that AJ is their guy and the perfect player to mold this franchise into what it's hoping to be at some point, how much better does that make you feel about the pick, seemingly knowing that they were extremely confident that this was the guy they had to take?
It certainly should make Wizards fans more confident in the pick. It seems like he was their guy the whole way, and that doesn't mean that they didn't put in extensive work, but that extensive work probably highlights that feeling even more. Like you got multiple looks at Darren Peterson in 2 workouts reportedly with the team. I'm sure you got a good look at Cam Boozer, at Caleb Wilson, and some of the other candidates that possibly could have gone, at number 1. And apparently they did actually work out AJ, which is pretty funny. That I don't know if they told AJ to say that he didn't work out with them. I don't know if that was the plan, but Shams reported that AJ did work out with Washington. And so when you have so much talent at the top, you have 3-4 guys that could probably go 1 in some other drafts. And even with all of the extensive looks, even with all the workouts, the film, the meetings, it seems like they came out pretty easily convinced that AJ is the best player in what's a really good and talented class. That's what you get with the power of choice. But again, it seemed like the entire way it was going to be Dybantsa, unless something crazy happened. I'm sure Utah probably gauged the interest in a trade, but like Will Dawkins said, it would have taken a pretty big offer to do it. But it should give Wizards confidence. Like in a huge draft like this, to come out that confident that this player is by far the best and has always really been the best, that's a pretty good tell of how good he is.
Another weakness, Greg, that many people have pointed out from Dybantsa's game is his ability defensively. I think a reason why I'm so optimistic about him being an above average defender is the size. You can't teach size. What do you think the Wizards have to do in this coaching staff to make sure that you're maximizing the development of him as a defensive player?
I find it interesting that, every question he was really asked started with him saying, I need to get better at defense. I'm sure Will Dawkins and then the staff did not, just glaze him and sugarcoat it and say, you're a great defender. They're like, you were not probably the best you can be. Here's why, and here's how you can improve. And it seems like AJ understands his role coming in here is not going to be the same that it was at BYU or that it was in high school. He's going to be asked to score the basketball. Sure, he's not going to have the ball in his hands as much, but he's going to have to defend. Like Will Dawkins is pretty clearly laid out that you don't have to be the world's greatest defender, but you got to figure out how to at least be an impactful defender in our system. You need to give maximum effort in our system, which is easier for guys like Bilal, Keyshawn, Sarr that are already really impressive defenders. But again, Will Riley, you saw if you watch the Wizards way thing, like he's working on being a more physical defender and adding size. And that probably goes across the board to guys like Bub, Trae Johnson, hopefully Trae Young as well. But you mentioned the length and the size, like 6'8.5" without shoes, basically 6'9" or 6'10" in shoes, 7 foot plus wingspan, really good athlete, really good agility, really good quickness. It sounds pretty difficult for me to believe that guy is not going to be at least an all right defender. And in a system where he's playing with really good defenders in Sarr, in Davis, Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, he doesn't have to take the best assignment. He doesn't even have to take the second or third best assignment. He's got to defend one of the guards on the opposing team, and he's got to do an all right job, right? You're not asking him to be first team all defense. You're asking him to be a good defender in your system. And it seems like he's pretty bought into doing that, and the Wizards are clearly going to try to help him get there.
All right. One of the most important things I think about this AJ Dybantsa experience we're about to embark on, this era we're entering here of Wizards basketball, is finding the best way to maximize his development. What does that look like? We find out the answer to that next here on the Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing your software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just as it is in business. One thing that really stands out about the Wizards organization is how everybody was pulling in the same direction over the last 3 years here with a common goal. Eventually, you get the number one overall pick. It wasn't just one player, the coach. It was coordinated effort. Everybody aligned through the front office, the way of thinking to get to this point. That's what made this operation get to what it did last night. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. The one thing, Greg, that really intrigues me about AJ Dybantsa in this experience that we're about to get into here, and what gives me confidence, is you're entering him into a situation where you're not going to have to ask him to take on the load of being the franchise player in year number one. You just signed Trae Young to a big-time extension. You're committing to him for the time being to be somebody that gets you out of where you've been for the last couple years, to elevate your squad around him. But we know that AJ Dybantsa has legitimate top 10 player in the league upside, and that's why you take this guy number one overall. So maximizing his development will be the most important thing the Wizards do over the first couple of years here of his career. What do you think it looks like in year number 1 and 2? How do you gradually see this increasing his workload over this time here in DC?
I think to start, he's going to play an off-ball role. The ball is going to be in Trae Young's hands a lot. He's making nearly $50 million a year, so you better believe this team wants him to have as much offensive impact as he possibly can. But for AJ, it's finding out how can I get to my spots at the NBA level. It's going to be a feeling out process. The players are more skilled than college, but they're also bigger, stronger, more physical on the defensive end than in college. So don't expect AJ Dybantsa to be an MVP in game one. Like, it's going to take time. And you always have these overreactions, right? Like, if you remember, Derek Queen looked like an incredible all-NBA type talent in the first 15, 20 games last year. And you had people that were saying the Wizards shouldn't have drafted Trae Johnson. And then you see teams figure out what Derek Queen can do and stop it. And you see Trae Johnson, before he got hurt, figure it out after 20 to 25 games. So I would caution Wizards fans to have, some sort of, realization that he's not going to be the best player in the world right away, and to give him some leeway in terms of figuring it out. But in year one, you'll gradually see him figure out how to get to his spots, how to use different angles to get to the rim against this type of competition. I think he's going to have to pretty early on rely on getting to the bucket because, again, you got to figure out that jumper. But again, not as easy with NBA closeouts, with NBA defenses to get that shot off the way he could in college. So I think he's going to have to rely on that 72% percentage field goal from the rim that he had at BYU, rely on getting to his spots in the mid-range and hopefully extend beyond the three-point line. But this is an easy 15, to 17 points per game guy in his rookie year, which could elevate to 20 plus points per game, depending on how much he figures it out, what his role is. But I'm excited to kind of see that development. I think as he gets older, you'll see him mold into more of this guy that can play on ball, that might be this point forward. I mean, Dawkins said he could be a guard, but has the handle to kind of run an offense. And so maybe in year 5, year 6, he's kind of figuring out how to do that. But I think early on, his role will be pretty simple. Like, hey, go out here, get to your spots. Trae will find you, score the basketball, and also lock in and try to be as impactful as you can on defense. And for a Wizards team that's not only lacked an on-ball creator like Trae Young, but it's lacked a guy where it's like, I can get to the rim whenever I want and you can't do much about it. That has been something they haven't had in a while. And I think I'm pretty excited to see that be AJ Dybantsa if he starts to figure it out pretty early here.
And I said that I don't need him to be an elite 3-point shooter. If he can be above average, that's fine because you have Keyshawn George, you have Trey Johnson, Trae Young just got into a new contract. This is kind of off topic when it comes to Dybantsa, Ben, Greg. What number do you think he's going to wear? For some reason, 3, I saw on the Wizards, I think they dropped the episode and they were doing their interviews with players and they put 3 in the closet, and a lot of people pointed that out on Twitter. So what number do you think the Bonds is going to pick?
I don't know. I mean, I saw Trae Young talking to him about it. I saw the phone call. I don't know if they were discussing the number. Obviously, AJ said he was joking when he said it on Gilbert's podcast. I think if Trae offers him the number, he said, like, obviously I'll take it. It looks like it's what he's worn for a while. But it's up to Trae. Like, I know Trae's real attachment is to 11, but obviously that's retired for Elvin Hayes. So I don't know what his decision was behind taking the number 3. I don't recall what it was. But I think, I don't know, based on what I've seen, I think he's going to give it up. Like, I don't know why, but I think he's going to give it up to AJ and he has another number in mind. That would be my guess.
It's interesting, the number debate. And remember, people were actually mad at AJ for making that comment, and then last night
It's a red
like,
flag.
I was trolling.
That's
it's
the pre-draft process there, man. That's what happened.
I know everyone's like over-analyzing everything, but throughout the process, it gave me a lot of assertion that AJ was the guy that could be the face of the franchise because of the pedigree that he has with his name and how he's kind of almost been groomed into a franchise icon since he was 14 years old. Just of his mental makeup, Greg, what about him stands out and what makes you think he can truly handle the pressure that comes with being the first pick in this town?
I mean, if you remember, he wore a suit to his combine interviews, which I thought was awesome. He just seems like a very professional guy. Like, if you look at, he's done so much media in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. It's unbelievable. This guy is on the Breakfast Club. He's on Good Morning America. It's crazy how much he's doing. But he handles himself like he's a veteran player. He knows the right things to say. And like you mentioned, just because he's confident doesn't mean he's got this huge ego. Doesn't mean that he's going to come in here and demand to be the number 1 guy. He said multiple times after he got picked that he has to earn his spot. He has to buy into his role. He's very coachable and he'll do literally anything the coach asks him to do. And he's excited to play an off-ball role. He's like, look, I'm playing with Trae Young and Anthony Davis and other people. They're not playing with me. I have to figure this out for myself, how to play with other people that are also incredibly good at this game. And I don't have to do everything. And you want that. If he's going to be your number 1 option, I don't necessarily think, you want him to be this very quiet, naive guy that doesn't really speak and isn't a vocal leader. Like, this seems like the guy that when he figures it out in year 4, 5, 6, and he's one of the best players in the league, he's going to be the vocal leader of this team. And sometimes that's needed. So I think people mistake his confidence for like some sort of inflated ego. That's not the case. Seems like a pretty down-to-earth kid that's just very confident in his game. And I think that bodes well for a Wizards team that's needed someone like that, not only on the court, but off the court. I mean, if you're in Wizards ticket sales right now, you're over the moon because this is a guy that's going to sell tickets. He said he's going to fill seats. He's going to sell tickets. He's going to be the franchise guy. And
right,
you've been looking for this guy for years. Like, I don't know why this is all of a sudden a problem for Wizards fans. Like, just because he's confident in his game does not mean that he has this big ego. He'll buy in. He said all he cares about is winning. And he's proven that at every level so far. I don't see why he wouldn't do it at the NBA.
Yeah, people, it seems like they just like to search for stuff, any reason they can find to be upset about something. But we're obviously not going to choose to do that here on this podcast, especially not today. It's a very monumentous day here following the NBA draft. We got round 2 of the draft tonight. The Wizards are on the clock twice, 51 and 60 as it stands right now. There's a need to find another backup big for this team. We'll talk to Greg about that, maybe get some options from him when we come back. Workplace chaos can show up fast. That's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on your skills, experience, and location. Finding the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team. Some of the best moves organizations make aren't always the splashiest ones. Sometimes about finding the person who fits exactly what the team needs at the right moment. That's what stood out to me about the Wizards last night, taking Dybantsa. Not only is he the best talent, but he also is a very big need for this team. I think he fits in great. It's the same idea behind Indeed Sponsored Jobs, helping connect organizations with candidates who are the right fit from the start. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. The World Cup is here, and that's why we're brought to you by Kalshi. It's the most electric time in soccer, and on Kalshi, you can trade every single match and the championship game. Today, we have Switzerland and Canada. Tomorrow, Japan and Sweden. The day after that, Cape Verde, who's been the darling of this tournament against Saudi Arabia. A lot of great matchups, and you can trade all of these right here on the best prediction market, Kalshi. Let's take a look at the Switzerland-Canada game today. Switzerland is trading at a 40% probability to best Canada today in that group stage game. So $100 trade on Switzerland to beat Canada would pay out $239.92. So on Kalshi, the World Cup heats up. Those numbers move in real time. You can buy in or out at any time. You're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in or out of your position at any time. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. Kalshi. Kalshi trade on anything 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see Kalshi.com/regulatory. Want to get into some of these second round options potentially available for the Wizards tonight. Greg, I think you, AB, and I can all agree that the biggest need right now for this team is another viable depth piece in the front court next to Sar, maybe a long-term plan. But right now, when you look at the front court depth chart, it's a little bit thin at this point. So with picks 51 and 60, is there anyone you're specifically looking at potentially being available for this Wizards team tonight? What are we thinking here?
Yeah, you mentioned the depth. The Wizards are very deep at guard, at wing, and at forward. At center is where it really gets pretty dicey. Obviously, Anthony Davis is going to play power forward if he's on this team, and Sar will be the center. But when you look past that, it's really Tristan Vukcevic. And I know AB is a big TV guy, but is Tristan the guy that you want playing big backup minutes, 20 to 25 minutes a night? If AD gets hurt, if AD or Sar are in foul trouble, is that the guy that you want to slot in? I don't know if he's ready yet. And so if I'm the Wizards and I'm staying at 51 and 60, I'm looking at some big options because you still have one more roster spot, possibly two if you decide to waive or stretch out the contract of D'Angelo Russell. So I think a big makes sense at one of these spots. Henry Vasar from UNC is the best available big. He's also probably going to go in the first 3 to 5 picks of the round. So if the Wizards want him, they'd probably have to consolidate 51 and 60 and probably another second, maybe two. It's going to be expensive to move up 15 or so spots to go up and get Vesar. He's great, but you'd have to pay a pretty premium price. I think the Wizards can afford it. They have these second round picks for a reason. I think that wouldn't be the worst trade. But I don't know if he's in their price range, and it definitely won't fall to 51. But some other names that if they stick and pick at 51 or 60 that I think they should look into. Felix Okpara from Tennessee, good rebounder, just a good big. Like, he's not going to do incredible things on the offensive end, but he can score around the rim. He can defend and protect the rim. I think the best of some of these available players. And I know at least I saw they worked him out. So that's a good option if he's available. Trevin Brazil is kind of this like stretch four, not the greatest shooter, but like more athletic forward, 6'10", probably more of a power forward than a center, but really skilled for his size, incredible leaping ability. Again, someone I don't know will be there at 51, but someone you could definitely look at as this versatile forward that they might want to add in their front court. Uganda Onyenso, if you're a UVA fan, you know him. I saw he worked out for the Wizards as well. Really just like a really talented player, really athletically gifted player as a big. I think that could be someone they look for to also try to protect the rim a little. And then lastly, Malik Brown from Duke. If you look at his counting stats, they're not good, but if you watch him play, he was one of the more impactful players and one of the biggest reasons Duke was as good as it was the last couple years. Veteran guy, one of the older players in this draft. But if you need someone off the bench that's going to set good screens, it's going to rebound, it's going to defend, that's your guy. And I think he'll certainly be available at one of those spots. I know that they worked him out as well. So those are four bigs that I would be looking at. If they move up, there's definitely more premium options like Vesar. But if you stick and pick at 51, those four names are guys that I'd be looking for because they need front court depth. They need to bolster the backup big. And if you're not looking to do it in free agency, those are some guys I'd look to do it for in the draft.
I love Vesar's game because he played so well alongside Caleb Wilson. Definitely was a fun duo to watch this past year. Toby Lawal, because he's a Hokie, and Richie Saunders, because former BYU teammate, and at 24 years old, averaged 18 points per game last year, and was a big part of the Cougars' offense. I was gonna ask Greg, and is there a possibility this team gets a big in free agency, or you just don't see any intriguing targets?
I maintain, like, I think it'd be awesome to add Marvin Bagley. I feel like I'm a broken record saying that, but like they do it every year. Like, it's been 2 years in a row where they trade him and bring him back. So like I feel like I'd be dumb if that happened again, and I didn't think it would happen again. I think you'd have to pay more than a vet minimum because he's been great, but you have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception that you could bring him in with. There's also a trade exception, I think, from the Olynyk trade that expires pretty soon. So you could use that via trade to bring someone in. There's more premium guys. Like, I know Mitchell Robinson probably can't be retained by New York. Just they can't afford it without going into the second apron. So if you're Washington, like if he's willing to take a pay cut, it's roughly $15 million, I think, for the non-taxpayer MLE. Maybe that's an option. I highly doubt it. I'm sure he wants to go somewhere and start and not come off the bench. So it's not like there's that many options. And I think in terms of the roster they have, you have 2 second-round picks. I would probably lean towards addressing it in the draft, but there will be some talent in free agency. They have, roughly, I think, 10 to 12 million at the moment between them and the luxury tax after signing Trae Young. So they should be fine to be able to afford some of these free agents, but they definitely need a backup big other than Vukcevic. I think that's the biggest need right now.
Yeah, that's something yesterday when I was pondering what would happen in the first round. We heard from Mike Winger on the Junkies before the draft began, saying after the first pick that they presumed it would be pretty quiet the rest of the night. So maybe they had already made some calls and gauged what the price would be to move up, and maybe it was too expensive for their liking, or they just didn't see the board falling their way. I mean, because my guy, Morez Johnson, went 10th overall. He went to Dallas, right? So it's kind of crazy. Like, a lot of the top options, I think, came off the board a little bit sooner than I was looking for. Maybe the price was a little bit too expensive. But when it comes to what they have in their front court right now, obviously AD is in the fold for at least half the season, we think, at this point. Greg, when the second half of the season arrives, if they do not have AD in the fold anymore because either they move him at the trade deadline or whatever happens, then how different would that defense look without him on the floor, you think? Like, how different could this team look pre to post All-Star break?
That's a good question. I mean, you would have more spacing. You'd be able to run in transition, I think, a lot more, and it would probably change the dynamic of this team uh, for the better. Obviously, maybe on the offensive end and in terms of scoring fast break points, like that would help in terms of spacing. But defensively, you lose an anchor, you lose a rim protector, you lose one of the best defenders in NBA history, a guy that's won a Defensive Player of the Year award and an NBA title. Uh, I think a lot more would be put on Sarr's plate. And you obviously saw that last year. He can do it, but it gets to a point where when you're allowing the most rim attempts in the league by a mile, it's like, all right, this guy's doing great. And he's blocking 2 shots a game. He's altering a lot more. But is that the greatest thing that you're looking for? And I think a lot of that was blow-bys. And I think a lot of that was, something, because the defense around him wasn't great. But if you lose AD, it's just all right. Slot Keyshawn George at the 4, then you put AJ Dybantsa at the 3, and then you have a bunch of options for the 2. You have Trae Johnson, you have Bilal Coulibaly. You could even start Will Riley. I think a lot of people think Will Riley is just like this piece. Like he's incredible. If you watch any of the Wizards, I know a lot of people did at the end of last year, but don't sleep on Will Riley. I think he could easily start for this team at some point in the near future. But I think you just kind of shift everything around. It was a trade that they made clearly before they got AJ. And now that they got him, I don't think moving on from him is as big of a risk or as big of a loss as some might have thought before they won the lottery.
Do you think, Greg, that his value, talking about AD here, has gone up or down since he got traded, or has just remained the same?
I mean, remain the same, but I also I heard that the market grew for a guy like Trae Young, who no one apparently wanted a couple months ago because of the lottery reform and the lottery changes. So maybe that would help an Anthony Davis market. But I think a lot of teams are desperate. I think a lot of teams know that their window is closing. And if they want to try to compete now, it's not like Anthony Davis is bad. Anthony Davis is still very good. He's old. He's 33, but he's still very good. The contract is where it gets tough. Like $57 million is incredibly hard to move. I remember we were talking about like Middleton and McCollum making like 30, and that was like impossible. It's like double that basically to move off of AD. So it would take a lot of contracts. And I don't know if the Wizards would like to take back salary beyond this season. So a trade might be tough, but I mean, you've seen reports already. Like Portland is apparently salivating at the idea of getting Anthony Davis. So it's like, all right, if you want to give the Wizards a couple firsts and you want to give them, expiring contracts, all right. If Anthony Davis doesn't want to be here, it all comes down to that extension, I think. Like he wants an extension. I don't think the Wizards would be smart to give it to him. So I think the writing's on the wall that he'll probably be moved at some point. But I just don't know if that's, before the season, at the deadline, after the season. I guess it all depends on how much each side wants to move off it.
I wonder if this Portland owner, who seemingly has been very unpopular since he took over because a lot of the things they did in the postseason, not traveling two-way guys, not giving out shirts to the fans, I wonder if they're going to be able to finesse this Portland owner in a way with some kind of AD trade. If they are really that desperate for it, if they want to fill seats even more in Portland, they get desperate to trade for a guy like AD, that would kind of be interesting to see, I guess. But that's just the initial thoughts I have on it. Greg, I want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for your coverage. As always, it's been a rough couple of years, but last night feels like the start of hopefully something great for all of us here that are in this Wizards content creation field.
Yeah, I think it should be a lot more fun for us recording after the team's trying to win games and after there's some actual really good players and excitement around the team than us just posting a recap and getting spam with comments saying, why are you doing this? This team sucks. Why is anybody talking about it? So hopefully it's more energetic and hopefully people are more excited about the team. And I think we're definitely more excited about covering this team moving forward. But always a pleasure to join you guys. Always happy to be here.
Appreciate it, Greg. Be sure to check out all of his work on Bullets Forever and his podcast as well, the Wizards podcast. You can get that wherever you get your pods. Check him out on Twitter at Greg Finberg. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On Wizards. We got round 2 of the draft tonight, so A, B, and I will have a pod out for you breaking down whoever the Wizards end up taking tonight. Hopefully it is a big, but that should be a lot of fun. For now, that is Greg Finberg, Abdullah Ayubi. I'm Ben Strober, DC family. Have a good one.